Tonight, lending a hand.
I was overwhelmed with emotion and extremely pleased that they were there for us.
Wildfire evacuees return to the ruins. How one organization is helping clean up without even being asked. Also tonight, rising water bills.
I was just flabbergasted, in shock.
How higher water bills have some Winnipeggers treading financial water. Plus, carving concerns.
There's reason to be concerned if people are coming in and just carving up trees that they shouldn't be.
Why some Winnipeggers are sculpting a plan to protect a Winnipeg forest.
And a tornado watch is in effect tonight for parts of southwestern Manitoba. Coming up, I'll show you where tornadoes could form and how long the threat will last.
CTV News. Live from downtown Winnipeg with Marilee Caruso.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Glimmers of hope are emerging tonight among the ash and rubble in Lac du Bonny. For the first time in a month, our cameras return to the hard-hit Wendigo Road area to see firsthand the cleanup underway following a deadly wildfire. CTV's Joseph Bernacki was on the ground and joins us now live in studio. Joseph, you caught up with people out in the area today. What has changed in the week since the fire?
Marilee, it's a heartbreaking scene. You can still smell the smoke. It's so quiet. It's almost serene listening to the birds who have returned. That's until you see the charred trees and scorched earth, with driveways leading to cement pads where homes once stood. As some residents tell me, a nonprofit is offering a ray of hope, and they say they are thankful for the help because they feel the RM is leaving them behind.
We thought it would have melted. I did lose my wedding rings, but they found that ring. That was really significant.
Erin Sleva Banville and her husband lost nearly everything in the devastating May wildfire. So when a volunteer cleanup crew found a ring in the rubble of their home, she said it was a miracle. But even more than that, the team's hard work made all the difference.
You can see what they did. It was a tremendous savior to us.
Christian Aid Ministries Canada showed up for the couple and their neighbors without even being asked. The nonprofit organization has 4 rapid response teams across the country, pressed into service where they are needed.
It's a very small thing we could do to help them on to the next step, you know, and give some hope and encouragement in their life.
And help the Wendigo Road residents they did. This was the scene back in May, just after the fire ripped through the community. And here it is this week. As Brad Wood says, the rapid response team cleared away hundreds of pounds of scrap.
It's been an insurmountable task, and the gratitude by the community is just unbelievable for what they've done.
Wood says they expected more help from the RM of Lac du Bonny, and on top of losing everything, felt neglected before the ministry stepped in.
I felt that we were left out by this, and we were just very fortunate for the ministry's help.
Lauren Schinkel, Reeve for the RM of Lac du Bonny, said the RM is applying for money for recovery. The RM has hired a contractor to remove hundreds of burnt trees, but it will all take time.
There's all of these moving parts here, and we just ask for some patience, too, from the residents.
He said insurance companies advised the RM to take a step back in the immediate remediation based on secondary health risks that may need special care.
This was purely an environmental issue where there was information received from the insurance companies who have specialists that need to deal with this type of a remediation.
Sleva Banville said now it feels like they are a community again.
The neighbors have really rallied, and we've all kind of come together, and it will be a new beginning for everybody.
Residents say they are waiting on insurance claims, permits to rebuild, and of course, more trees to be cleared. They say hydro is restored, but they're still working in the area.
Did cleanup crews find any other treasures?
Well, Marilee, Lavina Harding, another one of the residents I spoke with, told me she's incredibly grateful that she still has her coin collection. She shared these photos with me. Take a look. This is what's left of them, intact, but still a little bit scorched. Lavina told me it's the coin's sentimental rather than financial value that's important to her. She planned to pass her collection down to her kids. And although the coins don't shine anymore, this is still a bright light for her family in all of this destruction.
Okay, thanks for this, Joseph. The province is beginning to decommission most congregate shelters in Winnipeg, which temporarily housed wildfire evacuees.
We have been able to find hotels for evacuees, and in Winnipeg, no one is staying at the congregate shelter any longer.
Infrastructure Minister Lisa Naylor says Leela Soccer Complex will remain operational in the event more communities are evacuated. She adds there's still a congregate shelter in Thompson, which is housing around 114 people. 14 communities are still under evacuation orders, and officials say plans are underway to start sending even more people home. But there are a few things that still need to happen first.
This includes ensuring that medical staff are able to return to the community, that hydro is up and running, that law enforcement has been able to be reestablished, and that schools are cleaned and ready to receive students. Beyond that, grocery stores need to be restocked and gas stations need to be opened. Water treatment plants need to be up and running, and EMS and fire need to be reestablished in the community.
The number of active wildfires remains unchanged at 21, with 7 burning out of control. Officials caution they are expecting lightning strikes to spark more in the near future. Well, have you looked at your latest water bill? Chances are it's higher than usual. The city of Winnipeg has upped its rates for water and sewer services, and some homeowners say the hikes are making it harder to stay afloat. CTV's Jeff Keel explains why your water bill is rising.
Bernie Lemansky rarely waters his grass, and when he does, there's not much of a yard anyway. He lives here with his brother, and their water usage is low.
The only thing you do is the dishwasher, the washer and dryer, and a shower.
So it was sticker shock when he opened his quarterly water bill from the city of Winnipeg.
I was just flabbergasted, in shock. I couldn't believe it.
Last quarter, he paid $157. This quarter, the bill is $269.
Give me a break. What are they thinking?
Other homeowners are flooding Facebook with comments too, many asking the same question as Lemansky.
I'd like to know why they increased it that high.
It is catching people off guard. I guess they missed the discussion and debate we had on it.
In March, City Council approved new sewer and water rate hikes to help fund the $3 billion North Sewage Treatment Plant. And there is a new levy. A $23 per quarter fee was eliminated, but replaced with a higher $63 per quarter waste management fee to pay for services like garbage, recycling, green carts, yard waste, and damaged carts. It's a new utility model to take the heat off property tax bills.
For the waste management, we looked at here's what the cost is. We have contractors who pick up and collect your garbage, and there's all kinds of costs related to it.
And things could have been worse. The mayor and council rejected a proposal to jack water and sewer rates by $1,000 a year for a family of 4. Still, Bernie Lemansky says the approved rates and fees are tough to swallow.
A lot of single parents, and they're on their own, and they're living on a fixed income, and they can't afford this kind of increase.
Jeff Keel, CTV News, Winnipeg.
A city councillor wants the city to consider adding extra stop signs on a well-used street in St. Vital. Local councillor Brian Mays has put forward a motion for a traffic study on Desmiron Street between Regal and Blenheim Avenues. It runs parallel to St. Anne's Road near the St. Mary's Road intersection. And during the short period of time our cameras were there, we observed a number of vehicles rolling right through stop signs. May's motion says residents are raising concerns over speeding on Desmiron and are asking for more stop signs as there is a school, playground, and pool nearby. The study would look at speed, compliance, safety risks, and the impact of more stop signs. The motion goes before City Council Wednesday. Manitobans have been dealing with an early and brutal start to wildfire season. And across the country, we've seen a number of extreme weather events over the past year. Some of these moments have been captured in a new survey about our perceptions of extreme weather. CTV's John Hendrick shows you what the poll found.
Based on this picture, you might think it's winter in Minnedosa, but it's actually just evidence of a hailstorm that rocked the community Wednesday evening.
The larger hails that were hitting the car, I was just arriving home, and it sounded loud. I looked for a tree to park under.
Ray Ballone says he's used to weather events like this in his community, and he's not alone. A new survey from Leger finds that nearly 1 in 4 Canadians has experienced extreme weather. 85% of Manitobans saying wildfires have become more frequent over the past 5 years.
Wildfires unquestionably are dominating what's on people's mind, and then the air quality that sort of comes with that.
Digging into the numbers, the survey found 64% of Manitobans believe Canada has seen more wide temperature variations within the same season. However, few believe we have been inundated with more tornadoes, floods, and landslides than normal. Environment Canada says it doesn't have enough data on whether there's been an increase in extreme weather events, but they are getting more reports of extreme weather events.
Everyone has a smartphone with a camera on it nowadays, and it's very easy to capture a photo or video, whereas, 20, 30 years ago, this was not the case.
Ray Ballone is philosophical about his recent brush with the weather.
It happens, and everybody's got hail insurance for their roof like anywhere, I suppose.
John Hendricks, CTV News, Winnipeg.
When it comes to concerns about climate change, the survey found 59% of Canadians are concerned about it. However, those numbers have dropped from 67% 2 years ago. Leger's poll surveyed 1,529 Canadians between June 13th and 15th. It was conducted online and cannot be assigned a margin of error. The school year is winding down, but before it does, educational support workers in the Winnipeg School Division could go on strike. Manitoba Government and General Employees Union members in the division voted in favor of a strike mandate earlier this week. The support workers' last contract expired in July. At issue is classroom violence, fewer resources, and wages the union says are not keeping up with other divisions or the cost of living. A strike date has not yet been set. All right, let's check in with Colleen Brady now and get a first look at your Skywatch evening forecast. You were tracking some potentially dangerous weather. You've got some tornado watches to update us on.
That's right. I've just raced over from my desk because things are changing quickly just over the border in Saskatchewan. There are two areas not too far from Manitoba under an outright tornado warning tonight. So I want to show you this first of all. We have tornado watches in effect on our side of the provincial border for the Dauphin, Minnedosa, and Verdun regions, spilling over into southeastern Saskatchewan, where those storms are coming from. But where you see that blue turn to purple, that is where a storm is happening that's producing a tornado. This other warning has just popped up, a tornado warning just outside of Regina, just to the east of that city. But I'll zoom in on the tornado that is much closer to Manitoba. It's right near Oxbow. That's not far at all from our border. Now, Environment Canada says it's moving to the southeast. Melita is not under a tornado watch at this point. A severe thunderstorm watch is in effect there. But still, if you're in that area, you want to keep your eyes on the skies. I'll have more details on this coming up because this could last for several hours yet, and it's not just that far south where we could see tornadoes producing tonight on our side of the provincial border. Let's take a look right now through the Bathfitter Live Eye. Bathfitter, your bath and shower experts for more than 40 years. In Winnipeg right now, 26 degrees. It feels like 29 with the humidex. Light winds from the south-southeast. The pressure's falling, and the humidity right now, merrily, is 42%.
Thanks, Colleen. A controversial development proposed in a rural community north of Winnipeg has cleared another hurdle. Last night, the Red River Planning District voted in favor of an application for a proposed gated community in the RM of St. Andrews. A developer can begin work to subdivide a 20-acre parcel of land into 76 lots with a new road. Some residents are concerned the homes will strain the water supply, existing infrastructure, and community services. To address those concerns, the RM of St. Andrews added 17 conditions to the application before approving it in May.
It's a supply and demand type of market where people are looking for this type of thing and looking for homes for first-time buyers or people that want to stay in St. Andrews but don't want large 4-acre lots.
St. Andrews CAO says the province now needs to approve the water supply plan. Concerns over rogue artists in South Winnipeg are brewing. Bois d'Esprit in South Winnipeg is known for its intricate tree carvings scattered throughout the forest, but some residents are worried the art is getting out of control. As Harrison Shin reports, they're looking for the city to take action.
Bill McLean loves walking through Bois d'Esprit Park.
Every day.
Nice.
Every day.
McLean and his dog Razzie taking the enchanting carvings along this trail, art that has made this 117-acre forest in South Winnipeg so famous.
The ones that we have here are absolutely beautiful. People are in here taking pictures of them, and they're well done.
Many of these carvings were the handiwork of late artist Murray Watson, who had been carving wood spirits into dead trees all over the forest since 2009. But lately, residents like McLean have noticed new carvings popping up in the forest, and it is causing concerns.
There's reason to be concerned if people are coming in and just carving up trees that they shouldn't be.
Royalwood Neighborhood Association board member Corey Crooks says while Watson always used dead trees as his canvas, the new carvings are being cut into live trees, impacting the forest's health.
While it's beautiful, it's starting to impact the safety of walking through the forest. So there's a lot of trees that are dying right next to the path that are a danger to people walking by.
Now the city could be stepping in.
You can't randomly carve your initials into any tree you want, so let's try and get some policy in place on that.
Area Councillor Brian Mace is calling for a report into all tree carving on public property. Right now, the city requires written permission and no new carving is approved in Bois d'Esprit. The Neighborhood Association says more education is needed.
I think it's important for people to understand the impact that we have on the environment.
For McLean, he believes something needs to be done.
Yeah, it would be nice to see some control on the carvings, for sure.
Harrison Shin, CTV News, Winnipeg.
45 years ago, Terry Fox headed out on his Marathon of Hope, and today, a ride to commemorate the run arrived here in Winnipeg. A group of riders made their way to Assiniboine Park this afternoon. The Terry Fox National Ride of Hope is led by Daryl Fox, Terry's younger brother. The cyclists are riding 7,000 kilometers from Vancouver to St. John's to commemorate Terry's run and to raise money for cancer research. Fox says it hasn't always been easy dealing with the weather conditions and illness.
But every morning we wake up and we think of Terry Fox. I certainly do. And I think of those that have been touched by cancer and those that we have lost. And, you know, riding a bike 220K is easy compared to that.
The ride kicked off on June 9th and has raised more than $844,000 towards its $1 million goal so far. The Winnipeg ride officially takes place Saturday. A remarkable ending to a massive 4-day search for a missing Montreal girl. Also ahead.
You're opening up a Pandora's box.
Why it's cheaper to fly overseas than to see relatives in another province. Why some say opening Canada's airline industry to foreign investment will help. Taking a look at the markets tonight, the loonie dropped to 72.87 cents U.S. U.S. commodity markets were closed for the Juneteenth holiday. The TSX fell 53 points. The Dow Jones and NASDAQ also didn't trade today because of the American holiday. Winnipeg police hope you can help identify a suspect in an armed robbery. It happened Monday morning at a convenience store in the 400 block of Mountain Avenue. Today, police released these security camera images of the suspect. Officers say he was armed, but no shots were fired and no one was hurt. The suspect was wearing a black Under Armour hoodie, a light-colored baseball cap, and a camouflage face mask. He was also carrying a Swiss Gear backpack. If you have any information that could help investigators, you're asked to call Major Crimes or Crime Stoppers. Meanwhile, police have a 27-year-old woman in custody after a gas station robbery on Salter Street yesterday. Police say an employee was pepper sprayed. The staff member was able to provide a description to police, who made an arrest early this morning. And a man is recovering from injuries after being stabbed multiple times in the Weston area. It happened Tuesday night on Keewatin Street. Police say an argument escalated between two men and one of the men was stabbed. Officers on scene provided first aid until the man was treated by paramedics. He was taken to hospital in unstable condition. A 31-year-old man now faces assault and weapons charges. A remarkable ending to a massive 4-day search for a missing Montreal girl. She was found safe and alive. The 3-year-old was found alive in eastern Ontario yesterday afternoon, spotted by a police drone. She was alone on the side of Highway 417 in St. Albert, east of Ottawa. That's about 100 kilometers away from where she was reported missing in Coteau-du-Lac, Quebec. Police say the girl was conscious and able to speak and is, quote, doing well. Nova Scotia's Justice Department is offering up $150,000 for information that leads to the return of 6-year-old Lily Sullivan and her 4-year-old brother Jack. RCMP started a missing persons investigation after receiving a report the 2 children wandered away from their rural home in Lansdowne Station in May. The total reward amount will depend on the investigative value of the information. After meeting with his National Security Council, President Donald Trump now says a decision on whether the U.S. will strike Iran will come in the next 2 weeks. The president has reviewed possible attack plans, but is holding for now. CTV's Joy Melvin has more from Washington.
Overnight, a violent attack on an Israeli hospital, the war raging on as the Israeli army intensifies its strikes against Iran's nuclear facilities. The U.S. president weighing the risk of America joining Israel's war.
Based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, he will make that decision within the next 2 weeks.
The White House says Iran has been weakened, and with a diplomatic off-ramp possible, the president, after reviewing U.S. attack plans, holding off for now. Pre-positioning aircraft carriers and strike groups in the region, even stocking up on blood supplies. Israel has damaged most of Iran's nuclear facilities, but top of its target list is Iran's Fordo uranium enrichment facility, buried deep underground. Only the U.S. has the stealth bombers needed to carry the 30,000-pound bombs that could destroy it. Israel's prime minister pressuring the president.
You gave them the chance to do it through negotiations. They strung him along. You don't string along Donald Trump.
With the specter of the Iraq war hanging over the president's decision, is causing deep divisions among Trump's supporters.
If you're calling for toppling in government, it's incumbent on you to know something about the country and to think through the consequences of that. And you haven't, and you don't. And I'm saying that's reckless.
Okay, you engage in reckless rhetoric.
Conservative Tucker Carlson and Congressman Ted Cruz in an explosive shouting match, with Democrats warning.
And if there's one thing we know, it's a hell of a lot easier to start a war in the Middle East than it is to end one. And I have no idea what this administration's plan is going forward.
The president has reviewed possible attack plans, but with the chance at substantial negotiation, the president is buying time, stepping back to see what Israel can do, but holding out the option of U.S. military action. Joy Melvin, CTV News, Washington.
Well, it won't come as news to Canadians that flying in this country can be expensive with few options. And a new report backs that up, saying more competition is needed in the industry to bring prices down. CTV's Abigail Bimment reports.
If you've bemoaned that it's cheaper to fly to Europe than visit family in Canada, you're not alone. A new report from the Competition Bureau found that's a common complaint, along with limited options, high prices, and bad service. Also not surprising, the ownership snapshot in 2023, with Air Canada and WestJet holding the majority of market share. And contributing to high ticket prices, user fees accounting for 30 cents of every dollar.
If we can pull those fees out, it gives a lot of room for margin for even these discount players to expand more than they have been already.
The report makes 10 recommendations to fix the problems, calling on the government to prioritize competition in policy, support northern and remote access, and leverage international capital and experience. That means allowing foreign-owned carriers to fly domestic routes and getting rid of restrictions on foreign ownership.
We are focused on competition and measures to increase competition for the Canadian marketplace. And unquestionably, foreign investment plays a key role here.
You're opening up Pandora's box.
Some are concerned foreign carriers would harm the market by only going after high traffic routes, leaving smaller communities underserviced.
Don't expect to see, a United Airlines showing up in Yarmouth or a Singapore Airlines showing up in North Bay. Not going to happen.
The Transportation Minister's office tells CTV News they are reviewing the report carefully and acknowledge Canadians want affordable air travel, but won't say whether they're considering making any changes to foreign ownership rules. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Ottawa.
Purchasing a flight online, there's one mistake that can be costly.
I feel like it's a pretty big amount of money to pay for like fixing a typo.
Up next, a story that will have you being extra careful the next time you're booking a flight.
Warm start to the weekend. Saturday kicks off the long-range forecast for Winnipeg. 27 degrees under a mix of sun and cloud. We could start to see some showers of rain move in Saturday night. Continuing on Sunday, maybe even a thunderstorm. 22 degrees the high. Cooler still Monday. Cloudy 18 degrees. Slowly moving back up to 24 degrees by Wednesday under a mix of sun and cloud.
Winnipeg's Animal Services is asking for your help to make life a little easier for dogs in its care.
You can do it. Good job. Good job.
The agency is planning to create a sensory garden at its facility, replacing the somewhat drab play area it currently has. As the name suggests, it means adding turf, flowers, play structures, and anything with rich scents or textures to keep the dogs engaged.
In a kennel environment, the dogs are quite stressed out. So anything that we can do to provide a calming, more relaxed environment, that's why things like a garden with lots of smells and calming scents like lavender or chamomile can really bring their stress levels down.
As an added bonus, Animal Services says calmer dogs will have an easier time adjusting once they're adopted. If you have any soil, potted plants, or ideas for how to spruce up the space, you're asked to give them a call.
CTV Skywatch weather brought to you by South Beach Casino and Resort. Visit southbeachcasino.ca.
All right, Colleen Brady back now with an update on that tornado watch. What's the latest?
Still watches in effect tornado-wise here in Manitoba. Tornado warnings in effect over the border in Saskatchewan. Why is that important? Well, all those storms that are firing off in Saskatchewan are heading our way. We actually had a thunderstorm that moved through Dauphin last hour. Dauphin is one of those areas tonight under a tornado watch. Now, a watch means that conditions are favorable for thunderstorms to develop that could become severe, that could produce tornadoes. We're not seeing any tornadoes in Manitoba at this point, but that doesn't mean that won't happen yet tonight. Tornado watches in effect again for Dauphin, Minnedosa, and Verdon regions on our side of the provincial border. On the other side, well, there's watches in effect in Saskatchewan too, but there's outright warnings where Environment Canada believes tornadoes are happening right now, including here in Oxbow, Saskatchewan, not far from our border, and then just outside of Regina in Davin, Saskatchewan. Now, here's a look at both of those storms. Environment Canada is tracking them moving to the southeast at 50 kilometers an hour, and then there's another storm here too. Here's a look at that storm producing a tornado near Oxbow, not too far from Manitoba, but just about to enter Manitoba as well, further north near Rocanville in Saskatchewan. That's a severe thunderstorm, all headed Manitoba's way. Now, Melita under a severe thunderstorm watch, not far, of course, from Oxbow, but still be vigilant in those areas as well in the southwest corner of our province. Now, Environment Canada says aside from the ability to produce tornadoes, these storms could produce hail as big as 6 centimeters in size, wind gusts up to 110 kilometers an hour, and a lot of rain. So the threat looks like it will continue for the next few hours. So late this evening, Environment Canada says the threat of both tornadoes and severe thunderstorms should subside. But tornadoes, of course, are potentially life-threatening situations, so please be very vigilant if you're in the southwest tonight. Now, as we get later on into the later part of this evening and overnight, there is the possibility, although it's not as strong, but still very possible, we could see showers or thunderstorms here in Winnipeg in the southeast. Overnight and into very early tomorrow morning, there's the possibility of showers. Then things start to calm down for the bulk of the day. You can see areas further to the north, much calmer weather. We get into tomorrow again, there's the possibility of scattered showers in the south. And then we get into Saturday, and it looks like more rain is headed for southwestern Manitoba. For tonight, for Winnipeg, again, not definite, but certainly possible of showers or thunderstorms later tonight and overnight. We drop down to 16. 18 tomorrow morning, a mix of sun and cloud on the way to a high of 28 in the afternoon with winds picking up out of the southeast. Up in the north tonight, much calmer weather. Churchill down to 6, partly cloudy there. Clearer but smoky through Gillam, Island Lake. Thompson down to 9 tonight. Sunny there tomorrow, 22. Churchill, you'll see some rain tomorrow afternoon, a high of just 9. Flin Flon in the Paw tonight, there's the risk of thunderstorms in your communities, down to 12 in those areas. Sunny around the region tomorrow, 17 for Lynn Lake, but warmer around the rest of the region, 23, 24. Showers and thunderstorms that could become severe tonight for the southwest. Brandon down to 13 overnight, Dauphin 14. Low chance of showers in the region tomorrow with a mix of sun and cloud. And again, good possibility of showers or thunderstorms late tonight for Winnipeg in the southeast. Mix of sun and cloud for most most of us tomorrow with highs in the upper 20s, 28 for Winnipeg. Partly cloudy tonight in northwestern Ontario, 13, 14, and then a lower chance of showers tomorrow under a mix of sun and cloud. Temperatures in the low to upper 20s. Now, Patricia sent this photo of the sunset after the rain over the Red River X. Great shot there. And this is fabulous, too. This pelican flying close to the water out at Lockport. That photo is from Irvin. Email us your photos to winnipegweather@ctv.ca.
Thanks, Colleen. Well, if you're planning on booking a flight this summer, you can use a travel agent, do it yourself through the airline, or use a third-party website. You may be able to find better deals depending on how you book your ticket, but you may find the discount isn't worth it if there's a mistake. CTV's Pat Foran explains.
Just to change the M at the end of my name, I'll have to pay.
Audrey Hamilton and her husband of Curtis planned a dream vacation to Ghana, and in February were online looking for tickets. They entered their phone number in a website, and not long after, someone gave them a call.
A 188 call that they're selling tickets to go somewhere, and they notice I've been searching for tickets, and they will help me.
The caller told Hamilton he could get her 2 tickets round trip from Toronto to Ghana for just over $2,700. She agreed, gave her information, and bought the tickets, but when she checked them, there was a typo in her last name.
At the end of my name, he put an M instead of an N. So immediately when we saw that, we emailed him, texted him, he never responded.
Hamilton booked through a third-party website called ASAP Tickets. She said after a month of trying to correct her name to Hamilton instead of Hamilton, she was told she could be issued new tickets, but was shocked at how much she would have to pay.
It's going to cost me $2,000 plus. And when I said that, he said that, I said, that's going to be double pain.
The tickets were for United Airlines, but the company told CTV News the customer will need to work directly with the third-party booking agency to make changes to their tickets. When CTV News reached out to ASAP Tickets, a spokesperson said, "We will not be providing statements to the media regarding this matter."
It's a painful and hard lesson to learn.
TECO, Ontario's travel regulator, offers protection for travel services within Ontario. It says be cautious using third-party websites and realize that TECO-registered travel services offer more safeguards in case there's a problem.
The benefit of using a travel agent or travel advisor is there's a requirement that the documentation is correct at the time the booking is made.
Hamilton feels the typo was not her fault and in the end had to cancel the trip as she didn't want to pay $2,000 to fix the mistake.
I'm just having a lot of anxiety and not knowing what to really do. I think it's unfair. It's devastating.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
It's a serious disease millions of North Americans have, but many don't know it.
He told me I had approximately 6 years to live, that there was no cure, and, basically, good luck.
Why one woman wants more people to know what she went through and the screening test that can tell you if you have it. New numbers show many Canadians who rent their homes are still finding it hard to stay above water even as the cost of rent falls. Joining me now to break down Royal LePage's 2025 Canadian Renters Report is Michael Fraze, broker and manager at Royal LePage Prime Real Estate. Michael, good to speak with you.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
First, maybe just give us an idea of how much of our incomes Manitobans are spending on rent.
Yeah, well, interestingly enough, and I don't think it's that surprising, but actually more Manitobans than anywhere else in the country have their rent taking up less than 20% of their income. So it's about 16% of respondents. So it's not a huge amount, but it's still way more than anywhere else in the country. But typically speaking, we're seeing people spend rent. The meat of it's about 20 to 30% of their income is being spent on rent.
As you mentioned, Winnipeg is known for being more affordable than many Canadian cities. Is that still true? How do rent prices here compare?
Yeah, so rent prices here are still far and away more affordable than most major city centers in Canada. Right here for a one-bedroom, I believe the average is right around $1,000 a month, which comparatively across the country is going to be about 30% less than the major markets, especially. It's even way more in Vancouver and Toronto and some of those really big city centers. So again, there are certainly challenges. There's affordability challenges across the board. There's still, inflation inflation has reared its ugly head for many, many years, and so there's cost-saving measures across the board. And what's interesting about the report, though, especially for Manitobans, is still that 53% of renters are aiming to buy in the next 2 to 5 years, and the majority of why they're renting still is to save up for that down payment. So home ownership, especially in Manitoba, is still an attainable goal. And as I said, Toronto, Vancouver, some people have just given up. Here it's an attainable goal, and we see people renting so they can keep saving money for that down payment.
Are you starting to see more of those in the rental market, as we see interest rates slowly go down, making the jump?
Certainly, we see people making the jump again. It is a goal for most Manitobans. I also found it interesting in the report that it showed that, of those 47% of people of renters who aren't looking to buy, they're not buying because they like the flexibility of renting. And we had more Manitobans say that than anywhere else in the country. So I thought that was interesting. But certainly people are making the jump. They're trying to make the jump into home ownership. But like buyers and tenants alike, there's just not enough housing for buyers or for tenants. So if you want to get into the buyer market, a first-time buyer market, that's also a challenge right now. There's just not enough housing to go around for buyers or for tenants alike.
We talked about that just this week on the news, that population is actually climbing here in Manitoba. Looking ahead, what do you see as far as home prices, vacancy rates? Will we see things improve at all in the long term?
Well, hopefully in the long term, and I can't speak, too much in the long term, but in the short term, we're not going to see a drastic change here. I'll say from the price standpoint, there's still just not enough supply to really tilt the scales into the favor of buyers or tenants. So we don't expect rents to come down drastically. We don't expect prices to come down drastically. And that's actually something in the report it showed as well, that I believe it was around the realm of 45% of Manitobans who were renters were waiting for prices to come down. Prices have come down 3 times since 1970. So I don't think that's a winning strategy right now because we have, again, just not enough supply. So, and those market fundamentals right now, I'll say on the buying side of things, the demand is up over last year and we have less supply. That does push prices up. So through the summer months and into the fall, I don't expect those prices to be going up or down drastically. We kind of hit the kind of a plateauing effect for the rest of the year, as most of our gains are in the first and second quarter, but at the same time, they're not going down anytime in a hurry.
All right, keep saving, I guess, is the message. Michael, thanks so much for your time tonight. It was great speaking with you.
All right, thanks again. Always a pleasure.
Older adults are increasingly dying from unintentional falls. That's according to a new report published by the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. From 2003 to 2023, death rates from falls rose more than 70% for adults ages 65 to 74. The report also says the rate increased more than 75% for people aged 75 to 84. CDC researchers didn't try to answer why death rates from falls are increasing, but experts say there may be a few reasons, such as more people living longer to ages when falls are more likely to have deadly consequences. Falls can cause head injuries or broken bones, which can lead to permanent disability and trigger a cascade of other health problems. Experts say staying active can help people avoid falls. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration has approved a new HIV prevention shot. Drug maker Gilead Sciences announced lenacapavir, a twice-a-year injection to treat HIV, can now be used to prevent infections from happening. In clinical trials, the drug reduced the risk of HIV infection by 96%. It will be distributed under the brand name Yeztugo. The company adds, based on insurance coverage in the U.S., it could take up to 2 months for someone to get their first injections. It's estimated to affect more than 100 million adults in North America, but many have no idea they have it. It's called fatty liver disease, and the American Liver Foundation says if left untreated, one type of the disease can lead to some serious, even fatal health conditions. CNN's Mandy Gaither explains.
In 2001, at the age of 45, Pam Miller went in for gastric bypass surgery.
He was finally going to get rid of all the weight that I had because I weighed nearly 300 pounds then.
But she says that surgery was aborted. There was a major problem with her liver, and she had no idea.
I really had no symptoms. Even my blood work was normal.
Back then, Miller says she didn't know anything about non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It's caused by a buildup of fat in the liver that interferes with the organ's functioning, and that's what she was diagnosed with. On top of that, her doctor told her it was stage 4.
He told me I had approximately 6 years to live, that there was no cure, and, basically, good luck.
Miller decided to get a second opinion at the Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center and learned about how lifestyle changes can help. For her, that meant weight loss.
It's so important to really increase awareness for this condition and for patients to ask their doctors whether or not they need to be screened for it.
Dr. Vivek Mendarada says sometimes blood work can detect a problem, but there's also a screening called FibroScan that quickly examines the liver.
It's essentially just an ultrasound that takes about 10 or 15 minutes. There's no poking, no needles.
It's now been 24 years since her diagnosis, and Miller is still maintaining healthy habits.
I think this is God's will, that I'm supposed to get out and teach others that you need to listen to your body.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Medical Watch is brought to you by Manukin Koster Denture Clinic.
The planetarium at the Manitoba Museum has a brand new show.
We look up in the sky, we see those stars. The elders call them Machagosa.
A sneak peek at star stories, how to see the night sky through an Indigenous perspective. The Spotlight is next.
Spotlight, sponsored by the Casinos of Winnipeg, presenting Tom Papa.
A new show opening this weekend at the planetarium will take you on a journey through the night sky from an Indigenous perspective.
So there's thousands and thousands of stories up there.
And Wilfred Buck's Star Stories shares 4 of them with the audience. The Indigenous astronomer includes teachings handed down by Cree elders over the generations to provide a different perspective from Western ones to a wider audience.
The concepts that Indigenous people talk about in regard to stars is not only, it's in regard to everything, because we're told that everything is connected.
Wilfred Buck's Star Stories opens Friday evening with a VIP premiere before running daily throughout the summer starting June 28th. You can find a schedule on Manitoba Museum's website. Well, it seems there's a lot of excitement for this year's folk festival, and organizers are warning tickets are selling fast.
I've been playing out a lot of hypotheticals in my mind.
That's Lake Street Dive, just one of the dozens of bands and performers you can expect to see over the 4-day festival next month. It should come as no surprise with Folk Festival celebrating its 50th anniversary this summer. The festival is now issuing a low ticket alert for the 4-day passes and says for the first time ever, they're preparing to potentially sell out of tickets ahead of the actual festival. With that in mind, it's also warning people to beware of unscrupulous resellers offering tickets online. Folk Fest runs July 10th to 13th. Find tickets at winnipegfolkfestival.ca. Well, fans of The Boss are dancing in the dark after watching this.
Never owned a new car before. Yeah, it's awfully fitting for a handsome devil rock star.
This is the first trailer for the movie Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere. It's based on the book of the same name. Jeremy Allen White is portraying Springsteen. The film will chronicle the life of Springsteen's 1982 Nebraska album. It's in theaters October 24th. Your primetime lineup kicks off at 7 with Transplant, followed by Good Cop, Bad Cop, and E-Talk. Wraps up the night at 10:30, all right here on CTV.
Women's clothing provided by RW & Company. Salon services provided by S&T Spa Salon.
There's still storms in Saskatchewan, very close to Manitoba, still producing tornadoes tonight. You can see one storm very close to Manitoba. Melita under a severe thunderstorm watch. Tornado watches continue for Dauphin, Verdun, and Minnedosa regions on our side of the provincial border. 27 degrees, the highest temperature today here from Winnipeg, 10 degrees off the high, the record high set just in 2022. Thunderstorms possible overnight tonight. A mix of sun and cloud on Friday, up to 28 degrees. 27 Saturday. Now, we could see rain showers as early as Saturday night, merrily. Showers, maybe a thunderstorm on Sunday. 22, 18 and cloudy Monday. Then starting to warm up. By the time we get to the midweek, we should be seeing it around 24 degrees under a mix of sun and cloud on Wednesday.
Thanks, Colleen. St. Vital Park has been transformed into an outdoor classroom.
It's a fantastic use in bringing life back to this park.
The Louise Johnston Outdoor Classroom is named after a former school trustee who served the area for more than 3 decades. The space includes sitting areas among the grass and trees where students from the nearby school can learn about the land, environment, and more.
This little forest has become so much more than just a place to explore. It's become a living classroom, a space where science, storytelling, art, and the real-world connections come to life under open skies.
The project was spearheaded by a teacher at Dr. D.W. Penner School who regularly uses it for learning outside of her classroom. I'm sure her students love that.
Yeah,
especially when the weather is nice. It's fun to do some learning outdoors.
It sure is.
Tonight, unless you're in certain parts of the province, you can do some stuff outdoors. But
keep your eyes on the skies if you're in the southwest under that tornado watch tonight.
All right, that does it for us this evening. Be safe. Have a great night. We'll see you back here tomorrow.